I get those goosebumps every I get those goosebumps every time you come around. You please my mind, you make everything feel fine. Worry about those comments, I'm way too numb, yeah. It's way too dumb, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time. I need the hype, throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps every time.
Get in! Get in! Champions League, baby! Woo! How is everybody? Hey, Summer!
Hi, some say hi. Hi.
Okay, straight away, get into it.
I got that summertime sadness. Got that summertime sadness. Got that summertime.
I'm here all week. Yes. Welcome to another Loaded. We're back. And so are Newcastle. That is the main thing. How is everybody? Pete, we'll go over to you first. How are you?
Living the dream, mate. Living the dream. Just buzzing. So close. We can, taste it. 1 foot in the door. We're there. We're just so close. And look, we'll talk about the game because the game was outstanding. Superb stuff. But yeah, could be better, mate.
Cool. Richie, how are you with the football?
Over the moon with the football. Can't really fault that. At least there was one decent good result last night. Unfortunately, I didn't get to watch our match live last night. I went to see Concert play in the final against my hometown, Chelsea Street, last night. And unfortunately, it's one of those games where a refereeing decision changes the whole game. I'll not invite Chris on because he'll have a rant that's longer than one of Mart's or Pete's about their third goal. But it did change the game, unfortunately. They were trying to get an equaliser in stoppage time and then got hit on the break. And the result wasn't, I lost 4-2, but it was, the result didn't, it was a lot closer than what it was. So, but it was, look, they've had a fantastic season. They've been promoted, a cup final. What more could you ask? It's a bit similar like Newcastle's, really, isn't it? Get to a cup final, get promoted to Champions League. So,
Europe.
Mirror image, yeah.
Exactly. Chris and Summer, how are you?
Good. Are you good? Yeah. She's good. I'm good. Yeah, I've just it's weird. I've been logged in today in work, and where like you're going away at it, and then you just go, we're going to be in the Champions League next season. Like I couldn't distract myself from it. It was very, very difficult. Had a few challenging phone conversations that switched me back in, but other than that, yeah, absolutely buzzing. Like, can't believe that we're this close to it now. I think we all acknowledge that getting that win against Brighton was the biggie. That was going to be the real hurdle. Yes, we've still got work to do. Yes, we still need 3 points, but it's looking pretty good now. Like, looking pretty good. I think we do what we need to do on Monday night against Leicester, and then it'll all be confirmed. And all my red mates are completely rattled, not happy at all, because they know that it's that close.
I was going to say, what's their mindset now?
Oh, very quiet. Like, didn't hear off them last night, and then I was messaging them, and they were like, "Oh, it's not over yet. You've still got to get something against Leicester and all that." And I was just like, "Come on, you know that tonight was the biggie." They all had their Brighton shirts on last night. They were all hoping. Even a point gives them a little bit of hope. A point gives them a little bit of hope, and the fact that we dealt with Brighton the way we did last night, emphatically 4-1. We're going in with major confidence on Monday night. Major confidence.
but Chris, it's like times like this. I wish back on, let's say, the 29th of October 2022 that were predicted. But Pete, it's so close now. You can almost, if you listen very, very closely, you can almost hear it. Listen. It's coming. That's not going to come backfire me whatsoever. No doubt about that. But yes, Loaded Mag NUFC, the home of Champions League football.
Daz, do you know what's absolutely brilliant about that? You started playing the music, and you could see Pete just like, Daz, are you messing?
What's he doing now?
Nah, Pete's like, yeah, we're good, but we're not getting Champions League. Come on, mate. You could see it in his face. He was just like, yeah, you're going too far now, Daz. Just chill out.
And
that was October though, wasn't it, mate? That was like 2 months into the season. No one would have predicted this. No one.
It was a bit of a joke, right? But and it got louder and louder as it went on, really. So now it just goes your head.
Yeah, it's definitely to hear.
But you never get sick of it. And so let's get into the game, lads. Let's do what we came here to do, and let's talk about that game. So I got my pictures ready. Here we go. So here's the lineup. So first up, unchanged lineup for Newcastle. No Longstaff, no R. Murphy. Brighton themselves then made 4 changes. They dropped to the bench. They put McAllister, Ferguson, Colwell, and in Simso, Miggy's friend, to the bench. But what did you make of the lineup, lads? And any thoughts on that? Pete, we'll go with you.
Yeah, not really surprised. We all thought about the Wilson Isak situation, and Eddie Howe stuck to his guns. He clearly feels that is the way moving forward to get us the results that we needed. And yeah, not surprised at all with any of that team. I really wasn't. With Brighton, a little bit surprised, certainly with McAllister not starting. He was fantastic against Arsenal. Was kind of expecting it, but then when you looked who was on the bench, if you look at Brighton's team and who's on the bench, they really did not have a lot to choose from. You look at McAllister, you look at Cisco, who got injured in the Arsenal game, and I think it was Evan Ferguson. They were the only real 3 off the bench that you think they're the ones that could change the game. Other than that, they didn't really have much. So they had to sort of rotate the team just to have an option later on in the game. So yeah, a little bit surprised, but you could see why they did it, because they are looking quite thin on the ground, as are we. As were we going into the game, really.
Cool. Richie, thoughts on the team Newcastle put out?
It pretty much picked itself, doesn't it, really? Obviously, with Longstaff being injured still, there's only the 3 centre midfielders, really, and obviously Joe Litton drops back to that middle. Obviously, I agree with what Pete said. He's sticking to his guns. He's playing Callum Wilson through the middle. And to be fair, you can't really drop him on the form. He's scored 11 goals since Premier League goals since the start of April. No one else has done that. It's just absolutely phenomenal form he's in. I do think it's hindering Alexander Isak's form a little bit, because obviously he's a little bit out of position. Yes, he can cut in from that side. He's getting a few assists, but he's not getting the goals. So, but there's no whinging going on there and stuff like that. They're all team players. They're getting on with it. They've got that collective goal of making Champions League football, and while we're getting the results like we did last night, that'll still happen.
Chris, any thoughts on selections? You're mute.
Fucking God, Jesus God. Sorry. Yeah, just very briefly, I was a little bit surprised. I thought that home game, I think a big start. I must admit, I wasn't in any way, shape, or form disappointed. I also thought Murphy would start, but obviously Murphy was injured, and that's why he wasn't in the squad. So I got why Miggy played. Miggy was fantastic, by the way. But yeah, I wasn't surprised as such. I was just was I surprised? Yeah, a little bit surprised, and maybe a tad disappointed. But I totally got it, and I understood it. And just to add in as well, if you remember, boys, when we first signed Isaac, and I was saying, that like he can play left wing, and he did so for Sociedad, and we saw that dip. We saw it, didn't we? Because I think the season before the season before he joined us, he'd scored like a ridiculous amount of goals. Forget what it was. Say it was 18, 19, maybe more. I don't know. And then he only scored 6 from that left wing position. Now, yes, he can play the left wing position, but like we all said, going forward, is that going to be the is that going to be a regular thing? Who knows? That's for the outer work out in the summer, and I'm certainly not trying to put any darkness on this show whatsoever. But it's a conundrum, and it's good to have options, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess he's kind of, in some ways, he's half forced into that option because of the injuries, and they racked up a few more yesterday as well. Well, let's get into the game. I'll try and fly through this because I haven't looked at it since. Early chances from Newcastle, 7 minutes, ball off the line. Isaac had a shot, it kind of took a bobble, but it was close to the line. It wasn't really on the line. 21 minutes, Jason had the shot. After he won it, he kind of intercepted and then got a shot off. Then 22 minutes, Trippier put in the corner, but was turned in by Undav, an own goal. Any thoughts on that one first? He did get like a little nudge right before he put it in our net, so that was nice. But any thoughts on the own goal?
I don't mind starting if you want.
Go for it.
Yeah, I think it's the quality of the delivery. Simple as. He's forced into a decision where he either tries to get ahead on it or he leaves it. If he leaves it, he doesn't know who's behind him, and if he gets ahead on it, he needs to get a good solid contact on it, and he doesn't. It just grabs at the top of his head, which then takes it over the keeper and goes in. Really, for me, it's all about the delivery. Fantastic delivery from Kevin Trippier, who's still.
Yeah, he's paused. That delivery, he's still picturing that delivery.
Yeah, he looks like he's watching it now.
Right, we'll come back to Chris there. Anyone else want to talk about the own goal? Go for it, Pete.
But, as Chris quite rightly said, it was all about the delivery. Now, it was, for me, it was really clear that it was something that we've been working on, because it wasn't the only type of delivery that had been put into that sort of area, that whip ball into the goalkeeper. And the way in which we set up, people at the stadium would have noticed, the way in which we set up, we had all of our big guns in and around the goalkeeper, which made it a really tight and compact area. So when you put a ball in like that, you don't need a Newcastle player to get on the end of it to put it in the net, because it just needs to come off someone, and with the whip and direction, all it needs is a little touch and a flick, and it flies into the net. The keeper's got no chance, and exactly what it is. And he's quite rightly just trying to get some on it from a defensive point of view, but and it just, the whip continues it into the far corner. And look, it was exactly what we deserved. It was what we needed at that point, and it allowed us to really build into the game, because let's be honest, we could have been 1 or 2-0 up already by that point in the game. There's no doubt about it.
Cool. Richie, you want to say something about the own goal?
Just to echo what Chris and Pete said, it is all about that delivery. I think we've been critical of Kieran Trippier's deliveries over recent weeks and months, but like last night, you've got to look at his delivery was spot on last night, especially for the first 2 goals. You can't really fault them. Right on a sixpence, can't really fault it. But yeah, the thing, you put them into a dangerous area. They've got to do something about it. Unfortunately, I think for Undav last night, he had one of those games where I think he was auditioning to be in a Newcastle shirt, scores no goal, gives away the free kick for the second goal, and then he finally realised at half-time after speaking to Zerbi that he's actually played for Brighton, so he thought he might as well pull one back to try and make it entertaining. But 3 goal contributions and assists for Undav last night was a bit. It was quite funny looking at the highlights.
Nice one. Chris, we lost you mid speech there. Do you want to say something else?
I was going to say, it was probably a good job, really, wasn't it, to be fair? No, all I was saying was, yeah, fantastic delivery from Trippier. And I don't know what you didn't hear, but yeah, basically, he was kind of, he was stuck between a rock and a hard place, because he either leaves it and the player behind him could get it, or he gambles and he makes sure he gets a good connection on it. He doesn't. It touches, little glances off the top of his head, and then that takes it over the goalkeeper. But that's a risk you take. But ultimately, it's because of a fantastic delivery from Kevin Trippier.
I was telling everyone when you're gone, Chris, that you just, because you paused like your face was in shock and all. I thought you had caught a glance at that poster on the wall, but probably not. Oh, we said we wouldn't go there. We wouldn't go there. Sorry, Chris. We'll move on. Right.
I didn't even pick it. It's the wife. It wasn't even me.
Okay, now you have to show it.
Flame and everything.
You have to show it now.
Right, go on then. I showed this to the boys, and they said, "Ooh, what's that?" And I said, "Oh, the wife picked it." I had no choice in it. Do you know what I mean? I don't pick the design. If it was up to me, I'd still have me Tiger wallpaper. Do you know what I mean? Now I haven't. So
Every time.
yeah.
Right. Let's fast forward on to the next section. Right. 28 minutes. Miggy get a run. Wilson falls in the box. Went to VAR. No penalty. It was no penalty for me either. He was playing for the penalty. Any thoughts? Anyone think there should have been a penalty?
He's crafty, isn't he? Very, very crafty. On another day, and probably if it was a Newcastle player going for the tackle, if that was Botman going in on Mitoma or something, they'd have probably been put into the spot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's one of those, is that because really, from the angles that they've shown, you could probably justify it being a penalty and find a reason to justify it. And if the commentators are pro penalty, I don't think many people would have argued it, but But look, it's obvious that he's looking to win the penalty. There's minimal contact, so for me, it was unlucky, from Callum Wilson, not this time.
People are getting distracted in the Chelsea with the poster. Let's move on. Right, so yeah, an extreme press from Newcastle. Really put the press and the pressure on that Brighton keeper, who had some neat footwork, to be honest. But and then they kept playing out from the back. They kept at that little trick. But fast forward to the 48th minute, where there was a free kick for Newcastle. There was a bit of pushing and shoving, and the ref moved Shar back, if I remember, ball comes in. What can we not do all season from the tall lads at the back? We can't head the ball directed towards the goal and put it in the back of the net, but we can, and we did. And up stepped who got his head out was Dan Byrne, playing in front of his home fans, boyhood Newcastle fan, first goal in the Premier League for Newcastle. And yeah, actually, J7 got involved with a bit of a scuffle as well, didn't he? At that stage as well. But everyone got a bit angry, and Byrne capitalised. And Byrne was playing peacemaker as well at times. But what thoughts on Byrne's headed goal, lads? Richie, we'll go to you first.
Do you know what? There's been that much controversy to do about his celebration after it, right? And it was a fantastic. I said it before. It was a fantastic ball by Trippier in, and Dan Byrne's been critical of jumping too early sometimes, and he's been mistiming them as well. And but we've said about all the centre halves on the team, they've all been really poor this season. On corners, we should be doing a lot better with the height that we've got. But last night it was a perfect header. You couldn't really ask for much better off Dan Byrne. You always say try and put it across the goalkeeper. Obviously they come in that way, they can't change direction, and he put it in that far bottom corner. It was a fantastic header. Who on earth, I don't know whether it was zonal marking that Brighton were doing, but to put someone that small, I know obviously Dan Byrne towers over a lot of people anyway, but to put one of the smallest players on their team's marking Dan Burns, it was like having the interview with Trippier and Dan Byrne at the end. It was like that on marking the corner. You didn't really have to jump if you look at the highlights back on it. But lovely header. And I don't blame him for his celebration. He scored a goal for his hometown club. which, you know, as far as we know, it was that was technically the winning goal, really. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, they got one back, but that was the goal that made the difference, really. And it's, you know, it's looked as though it's got us Champions League football, so you can't blame the lad. He's still going to respect and love Brighton, obviously, for what he did for his career and stuff like that. But I think people have got to realise and take with a pinch of salt that you know, he grew up supporting Newcastle. He scored his first Premier League goal, and it looks like he's got Champions League football goal. I do not blame him one bit, and I probably none of the paddle will I that night, and everyone in the chat. But there's been a few on there. Obviously, a bit of talk on social media today, but I don't blame him, lad. And I like the fact that there was a celebration and a bit of passion against Noel Club. I think he'd be a bit more concerned if he didn't. It was a bit more muted because, you know, because there's so much riding on these next few games as well. So it was nice to see.
Cool. Cheers, Richie. Just a reminder, and I see you put it on screen from Lisa. Make sure you hit that like button. If you want to guarantee Champions League football, hit that like button. May not technically mean that, but yeah, hit that like button. And if you're new, subscribe. Subscribe, why not? Plenty more to come from Loaded. A lot more. Chris, we'll go to you next, because this goal came right before halftime to take us to 2-0 at halftime. But your thoughts on Dan Burns' goal? And you're on mute.
So bad. I'm so sorry. Well, I was thinking a third one would come, and the third one's come now, so I will be switched on completely, guys. Apologies. See, I've gone back red now. So. Yeah, I'm going to sound like Rinse from a piece here. Again, another fantastic delivery from Trippier. Not taking anything away from Dan Burns' header. He doesn't score often, and certainly doesn't head the ball very well very often. So I'm not taking anything away from Dan Burns. Made up for them. You know, but when you actually watch the goal back, the deliveries are that good. All Dan Burns got to do is just stand there like a tree and just let it hit him at a certain place going in. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Good lads, made up for them. And to touch on what Richie's just said, I didn't know actually, Rich, that Dan Burns was getting pelters, you know, for celebrating the way he did. You're absolutely right. You know, Newcastle fan, born and bred. And he's just scored his first Premier League goal in what is probably, well, we were saying the other day, weren't we, lads? You know, arguably one of the most important games in the last 20 years. So for him to celebrate the way he does at such a crucial time as well, because you made that point, Daz. I think when it went 1-0, I put in our WhatsApp group, didn't I? You know, if we can make this 2-0 before half time, it'd be perfect. And that's exactly what we did. So really, nobody can criticise Dan Burn for celebrating the way he did, in my opinion. And just to add, in the post-match, Dan Burn was incredibly respectful and, you know, gracious of Brighton. So I don't really see what the problem is myself.
No, I didn't hear any of that, but no, he really, was
really
after the game. He was very respectful towards Brighton. Pete, your thoughts on Dan Burns' goal?
Yeah, look, the one thing I've watched it back. The one thing about that whole move is that I believe it was planned. So if you look, Trippier, he goes to take, he jolts, he stops, Brighton move back, and every single player in that passage of play moves apart from one man. And Dan Burn is the only player that doesn't move. And it's almost like he knows what's happening next. So he jolts, he stops, the ball gets whipped over, and Dan Burns there, and like Chris said quite eloquently, you know, hits him like as a tree. You know, he stands there like
remains planted. Yeah.
But actually, it goes back to the point in that, you know, Dan Burn doesn't score enough goals, and actually from looking back at that, you know, he's what, 6'7". He doesn't need to jump like someone like Callum Wilson, who's 5'10", 5'11". He doesn't need to. He just needs to be in the right position. And 9 times out of 10, it will fall onto him. And that's what he did. And I love, you can tell he, rather than kind of put his head on it and really try and like put some pace onto it, he just guides it into the far corner. Bang. Down into the ground, which you're always taught at kind of youth level. If you're going to head a ball, head it down into the ground, bounces in front of the keeper, normally bounces over, and he does exactly that. And And I'd heard that the Brighton fans kind of like booed to a point when he went over to celebrate. It got drowned out by the cheers of the Newcastle fans. But look, I spoke to Brighton fans afterwards, spoke to Adam, who does away days with us. And although there was boos at the time, look, those guys still love him. They love him, and they completely understand why he celebrated. He's a Geordie boy, and he went back to his hometown club. There's no one else in the world that's going to celebrate like him. And he's effectively put his stamp on potentially taking us to Champions League football. But it was a great passage of play, a really, really great move. And you know what? The argy-bargy stuff before that, I actually wouldn't be surprised if that was kind of manifested to throw Brighton off a little bit, like as part of that passage of play. So.
Yeah. It was interesting. Right, let's get into the second half. Came out of the blocks the second half. 48 minutes. Miggy was unlucky again. And Miggy, who was everywhere on the night, because he had a kind of a shot, and it was like nearly a pass back, kind of a shot, and the keeper saved it. So he was free. If he put more power in that and directed a bit better, that would be the third goal, and that would be game over. But we were still in search of that third goal, and of course, Brighton hit us on the counter attack. Brighton, and it was Undav again involved, as Richie mentioned earlier. Went to VAR to check it. Byrne had played him on. And he Undav just got away from Shar. So anyone want to talk about that one? Brighton's goal.
I think you just got to give credit for Billy Gilmore. I think it's an absolutely phenomenal ball. I think the alarming thing for me as a Newcastle fan is there's been several times this season when the two centre halves have been split in two. I think if you go back to the Liverpool game just before the cup final, there was both goals were split to the middle of the centre halves. I think that's been an alarming thing for me from that goal. Don't get us wrong, it was a decent finish. I thought Pope could have done better. It was mainly it went pretty much straight under him. So I think he could have done better. But you've got to give credit for the ball through. It was a phenomenal ball by Billy Gilmore. It's the sort of thing, like when he was at Chelsea, there was a lot of hype about him and stuff like that, but didn't really do it at Norwich. Hasn't really done it so far at Brighton, but he's starting to get a run of games now. And it shows the quality that he can do if he's given the chance. So it's that I give credit for that, but I think we could have defended it better, personally.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, Rich. To be fair, when you watch it back, it was a great ball by Billy Gilmore. To be fair, it was a really good ball. But for me, I think, it's quite simply, I think Fabian Schär's ball watching. I think he just switched off for a moment. And he's ball watching, and then he tries to recover. And to be fair to him, he nearly does. But that split second, it costs you. And this is why, isn't it, that the calls for maybe bringing in a new right centre back are starting to pick up a little bit. Again, don't want to turn this into negativity whatsoever. Fabian Schär's been a fantastic servant, and he's had a fantastic season. But it's little moments like that, because let's be honest, lads. As soon as it went 2-1, I don't know about you, but my arse had got at that point because I was thinking they're going to score here. All the momentum switched just off that one goal, and you could sense it in the crowds. I think I saw someone in the chat talking about it. Lisa, I don't know whether it was you or somebody had asked you to Drew, maybe. At home watching, because obviously I wasn't there, you could sense the nervousness, like you could cut the atmosphere with a knife. Do you know what I mean? It was horrible watching. I think I had my hands like this for about 20-25 minutes. I said to Lisa, I feel sick. I felt sick because I thought, if that's going to cost us after such a promising first half, and we get the second goal just before half time, I'm thinking, go and make it 3, end the game. And then for them to make it 2-1, I just thought, oh no. And then we started sitting deep. It just changed the whole momentum of the game, basically. And just for that one momentary lapse, again, not going to get on Schär's back, but really, you can't afford to do that at this level.
If only, Chris, we were looking at a potential successor for Schär as well. Well, that's another show, and it's there if anyone ever wants to see it. It's there on YouTube. Catch up on that on about 10 minutes on that. But you want to say anything, Pete, on the Brighton goal?
No, I think Chris is right. Schär's ball watching. look, the centre backs had to play a different way yesterday, so I don't hold like too much against them. I'll explain a little bit more in a bit with regards to that of why they had to. But I do think just before Undav shoots, there's a little slight hesitation from Shaw where he slides in. He could have slid in, half second earlier. And these are fine moments here. This is not me being harsh, but he almost kind of hesitates, then goes, and by then it's too late. If he commits his body to take the ball and the man, and he wins the ball, which he would have done, the shot doesn't get away. But we're going on fine margins here. The one thing I'll say is that that's the only workable opportunity they earned in the whole game. And I actually think on the margins of the game, I thought it was actually quite harsh on the centre-back pairing and the defence that we actually conceded, because it was the only time that they looked like they were even going to score. And that, for me, is down to how well we defended last night. I really do. So, although it was disappointing to concede that goal, and at the time, Chris is right. At that point, you're kind of like, please, like, it's still so early in the game. There's so much more to play. You're like, please, like, don't do this. Like, don't let this happen, because they score that goal when really we were the better team. You just think at this point, is anything going to happen? Is it going to be a deflection like we scored our first goal? Is it going to be any little thing that gets them an equaliser? And then it just creates those negative thoughts. But it is what it is. Nice finish. Undev, top player, top young player. And he's already proved it this season.
Right, yeah, and so yeah, we're 2-1 at this stage, and those thoughts are starting to creep in that it's going to be a sucker punch, maybe even right at the end. But 51 minutes, Wilson has shot wide from a Mickey pullback. Brighton bring in the changes, bring on the big boys as they had sitting on the bench. Willett comes off. He come off injured. Probably won't see him again for the rest of the season. Anderson come on, 59 minutes. 64 minutes. Scramble, and there was a few chances for Newcastle, but still no third goal. 79 minutes. We're getting into the territory going, okay, are we over the line here, or are they going to hit us with a sucker punch? Bruno shot over the bar. As the ref played an advantage, I think it could have been a foul on Anderson. Then 88 minutes. Where is he? He's here. He's here somewhere. Here he is. Wilson goal. Miggy run. I think it was a tackle by Trippier. Passed the ball to Miggy. Miggy did a nice little run. And lovely ball to Wilson, who bet the offside trap. I was sure that was going to VAR and be ruled out. And on the counter, and Wilson slots it home. Lovely goal from Wilson to take it 3-1 and game over at that stage. But Pete, we'll go to you with your thoughts on Wilson's goal.
That's a superb little finish. I have to say, it's great work from Trippier again down that side. I can't remember who the player was, but he eases him off the ball. It might be Matoma. He eases him off the ball, plays in Miggy, and the run from Miggy, he just leaves that Estepanu, I'm pronouncing his name wrong probably, who was outstanding, by the way, at the Emirates, just leaves him for dead. I mean, that guy, he got a lesson last night. He really got a lesson in Premier League football, because he was destroyed time and time again by Miguel Almiron, and he was outstanding. And you kind of know what he's going to do. You kind of know he's drinking to the left, and he's going to shift the ball to the right, and he's going to run at you. And you know it's going to happen, but you can't stop it because he's too quick and he's too good with the ball. But it's, can he find the pass? And he does, and it's perfect. Wilson runs through. Sometimes in those positions, it's difficult. He has one look, he has two looks. He looks to see if Isak's there, Isak's not there. And sometimes strikers can have too long to think. And sometimes that can cause you to miss easy chances. But no, tucks it right in, gets a little deflection up off Steele. But as a striker, you're always told to keep the ball near to the goalkeeper. If you keep it closer to the goalkeeper, they can't get down quick enough to get something on it. And he just kind of settles it home. And honestly, at that point when that ball hits the net, I'm like, it's done. Game's done.
So,
And at that point, I'm off the settee, I'm buzzing, jumping up and down. It's a great feeling, great moment.
ordering out more brandy, I'd say, Pete, at that stage. But
It was flowing. I'm not gonna lie. It was, but all for good reasons.
Chris, thoughts on Wilson's goal?
Yeah, I was. I think I said to you boys after the game, it was funny. I genuinely, I didn't even celebrate the goal. Didn't even celebrate the goal, and I'll tell you for why. Because, and you know, when I looked in the crowd as well, and anyone who was at the game again, Lisa and co, like, tell me what you thought when the goal went in. Maybe you had a different angle, I don't know. But when I watched it, like, I didn't even celebrate, and it was weird because my youngest lad, he was like, "What's up?" And I was like, "It's off. It's off."
Actually,
well
I was
off.
like that too. I think I was like that as well.
I didn't even allow myself to get excited. It was dead weird. It was as if, like, you know, I didn't want to be disappointed. And then, do you know what? I saw the replay, went nuts, but they showed the replay like 2 or 3 times. And that movement from Callum Wilson to jink back towards the halfway line on the half spin and then go, that's what made it. That's what made it. And then, you know, as Pete said, really cool, calm finish. Yes, it went in off steel, but I thought he'd given the eyes a little bit as well, because the way that Wilson opened his body up, it looked like he was going to put it across the goal, and then he just hits it near. And I just thought it was top draw. It really was. But like I say, I didn't even celebrate. I was just sat there, just like, it was how I reacted when the Brighton goal went in. I just didn't move, and then it was weird when VAR showed it. I was like, it's on, and then I started going mad, and everyone was thinking, you weirdo, he's already scored.
Yeah,
But yeah, I
but
wasn't
there's a
having it.
reason for that, Chris, because we're just so used to things going against us, and just
maybe.
like it's in our head that this is going to happen. It's going to be ruled out. Then Brighton are going to come back up and score. It's going to be 2-2, and we're going to miss out on something. But no, it wasn't to be. Richie, your thoughts on Wilson's goal?
I thought it was phenomenal to go from one end of the pitch to the other. I noticed from the highlights I saw last night, Newcastle were really good against the Brighton press when we were in the corners at times, and we played out really well. But that build-up play, and as soon as Miggy knocked that ball around Estepinian, it was, you know, you could see something was going to happen, but it's one of those things. It's a bit like the you go back to the Joe Linton where a goal against West Ham. As soon as that ball's come through, and you automatically think he's way offside, but then you actually go back, and that the run is timed to perfection. As I think it was Pete, I mentioned that little run where he comes back in, he arcs his run just a little bit to get back on side, but then obviously it allows the speed to run straight onto it. And he's not like from a standing start; he's actually got a little bit of momentum going with him, but. It's one of those things you've got to bear in mind, that the composure he showed for the finish, because sometimes when you've got that much time, it can cause more trouble for a striker, because there's more thoughts go through their process of, right, where's the keeper, where should I put it, and stuff like that. Whereas because of the confidence that Wilson's been in since the start of April, he knew exactly what he was going to do and just did it. He just didn't even think about it. Whereas if that had been the stage after the World Cup, where he went to that barren patch, you might not have seen that. There might have been the fact where he might have played it too close to the keeper, or he could have put the other side of the post for all we know. But you know, it's what Wilson does. He gets the ball, puts it in the back of the net. It's nice to see them. You know, his fitness being fantastic. He's the goals run he's on, as we said, since April. It's fantastic. And you know, if he were to start, you know, a player of the season from the second half of the season, I think probably Wilson would probably get it, to be honest with you. His form has been phenomenal the last 6 to 7 weeks.
Nice, Richie. But the game is not over yet. 90 minutes, Isaac wins the ball in the centre. Wilson unselfishly squares the ball to Bruno, and Bruno finishes the ball and puts it in the back of the net. Goal, Bruno, and cue multiple celebrations from Bruno. Here, I'll have a selection of them here. Here's one. Here's another. Here's another. But yeah, he was loving it, and great to see a smile back in his face. There was a few games there that he was a bit down, but yeah, great to see him back again. But thoughts on that goal, Chris? We'll go to you first. Thoughts on Bruno's goal?
good job. I looked at that unmute button then. I nearly started again. I really, really enjoyed this goal. I thought it was really, really good. And the main reason I enjoyed it so much was purely down to Callum Wilson. He does incredibly well in the box. Could have quite easily, when he turns, cut back on himself. He could have quite easily just thought, like, how do I score from here? Instead, he looks up, sees the lung busting run from Bruno in, like, what was it, the 91st minute or something silly. And Bruno, calm, composed finish. I mean, I expect him to finish from there, but really good finish. But I thought Wilson was absolutely excellent for it. And I don't know about everyone else, but that celebration from Bruno, or those 5 celebrations from Bruno, were just I lapped up every single second of it. I thought it was just brilliant, and really, really special moment that.
Nice one. Pete, your thoughts on Bruno's goal?
You know what? I'm not gonna lie. That goal from Bruno reminded me very, very much of the goal against Arsenal last season when we won 2-0. And not because of the type of goal, but what it meant to the team when we won that. It was like the second goal against Arsenal at St. James's Park last season was like we'd solidified the win. We'd ended Arsenal's hopes. We had shown that we could play and beat the big boys. And it was that was our moment last night. Chris is absolutely right. Callum Wilson, really interesting. Fumby's in the chat right now, and Fumby will know because Geordie's Down South chat has been talking the last few days, and in particular last night, and saying, what does Callum Wilson do? Callum Wilson does exactly that. And Callum Wilson at times might look like he's not giving you anything to the team, but he is. And he gives you something that no other player, no other forward can give you. And it's those runs in and behind. It's his big, strong ability to hold off. A superb defender, by the way. Like, I'm going to give props out there. Lewis Dunk is a top defender.
Yeah, nearly bought him at one stage, didn't we?
Yeah, and we did. And you know what? He is proving to be a top centre-back. He is a very, very good centre-back. He saved Brighton earlier on in the game with a couple of outstanding blocks. But the ability to shift him off the ball so easily, to create that space, to put it into Bruno, and Bruno to make that type of run at that point in the game, it was just it almost solidified that this is where we need to be. This is where we are, top 4 in the league, almost cementing Champions League. It was just amazing. And you've already talked about it, Daz, the 6 celebrations that he gave off. It was just, I think that was almost like he's been waiting so long to score a goal that he just wanted to give all of his celebrations that he probably planned in one moment. And so he did. But yeah, that one there, that one is iconic. That one is iconic. We will see that one in months, weeks, and maybe even years to come. That is an iconic celebration. And I felt that at the time when I saw it live, and I still feel the same now.
Cool. Richie, do you want to say anything about the Bruno goal?
I just basically echo what the 2 lads said. It shows Wilson's all-round game. The fact that obviously he was through on goal again, obviously took a little bit further wide by Dunk, but to have that composure to not just still try and go for goal, to turn Dunk, see Bruno come in, and to be fair, now there's a couple of people mentioned it in the chat as well. It wasn't the best ball to Bruno. If you actually look, it literally bounces up just before Bruno hits it, and so for Bruno to get over it and finish like this, it's a hell of a finish. But it's just going to show that what a team player Wilson is as well. It was a fantastic goal. And I know Pete mentioned it was like the Arsenal goal when he scored that, but obviously it sort of reminded me a little bit of the Leicester goal as well. He scored when it was quite near the end and he ran on to it, headed it. Obviously this one he ran on and buried it into the net. It was and obviously Simon's just literally put exactly the same thing in the chat there as I've mentioned it. It was very similar to the Leicester because it was so close to the end as well. It was fantastic finish, and Bruno hasn't had that much looking for the goal this season compared to last year, and he's thoroughly deserved it for all the hard work he's put in, especially over recent weeks as well. When obviously we know he's been struggling with an ankle injury and he's been trying, and perhaps hasn't been as his best as he has been at the start of the season because obviously we know he's been carrying a knock. So he thoroughly deserves that, and I was over the moon for him. And obviously, celebrations last night. Anyone who thinks that Newcastle, he may be wanting to leave Newcastle, got been proved wrong by those celebrations. He absolutely loved this club, and he's going to be at this club for a long time yet.
He's going nowhere. No way is he leaving. No, never in doubt that he was leaving. Right, but that brought us to full time. 4-1 final score. Handshakes all round. Happy, smiley faces all round. And there was one chap in particular who was center of attention, front and center. There he is. Can you spot him? Mad dog. And instead of looking at this big picture, Pete, I think I'll hand over to you to zoom in a bit.
Oh,
yeah, just because I took these pictures at the time because I saw them, and I just think some of these pictures typify everything about this group of players or this group of staff, should I say, right now. And first and foremost, Bruno Guimaraes. I tweeted out later on in the evening last night and said he's the man of the people. Arthur, who he's not well at the moment, a young lad, I believe, and they've gone for a really important game in a really big moment, but they still remember people that back them and support them, young children. So for the players to do that in that sort of moment is amazing. And obviously, Mad Dog being centre of attention is always going to be the case. But I just wanted to point out a few people. I don't know their names. Some people in the chat might know their names. This guy is a legend. You see him all over the place. This guy here, the security guard, you see him everywhere. Look at that emotion on his face. You got this guy here, one of the physio staff, may well be. People in the chat might know. And then this guy here, Alan Maximin. People will think he wants away at the club. He does not. That emotion tells you everything you need to know about what these players, what this staff are feeling right now and what it means to them to play for this football club. It's not just about the players on the pitch. It's about the squad. It's about the squad and what they're giving, even in 5, 10, 15, 20-minute spells. It's about what every member of staff is putting in, including the security staff, which need to be bigged up, by the way, after what they did in support of Freddie Howe at Leeds last week. But these guys, it means everything to them that Newcastle United are playing at the top end of English football. And I just wanted to point that out because I think it's a really significant moment and it just means so much to everybody. It means so much to all of us. Everyone in the chat, it means so much to all of us that we're all here tonight talking about how amazing our team is. But for these guys, it means everything to them, every single bit to them. And they're giving everything for us, for this club, for the city, for the community. Nice one, Pete.
I want to go to another little section before we go on to ratings and a few more topics. But you might have seen, there was a tweet went out today, but Carl Thompson, his little boy Max got a little present from Callum Wilson. It was shown on Sky. Here it is.
Spending the fortunes that maybe potentially they will do in the future. But I think what they've had all season, they've had a rhythm all season. And sometimes you might have that bad period, but I think whenever they've had that one or two bad ones, they bounce back again. And when you look at that team and look at that squad,
looking absolutely delighted. Of course, he brought that to school today. Nice one, Max. Congratulations on getting your little souvenir for that one.
Well done, Max.
Well done. Shout out to Jane and Carl as well. But right, where do we go next? Maybe we'll go to some ratings and then we have some talking points. Let's go to ratings first. Right. We can try and fly through these. Popey, I'm giving Popey a 7. He didn't have much to do, really.
Yeah, 7.5. 7.5. Didn't have much to do. The reason why it might be a little bit slightly higher is there was a couple of really big takes that he came out in the first half, and I think in the second half where he just came and collected, took the pressure off. I actually thought his distribution was pretty good yesterday, and not because it was Edison-like, but because it was direct. The ball gets passed to him. There's no messing around, passing it short, keeping it short. Bang, hit it long. Bang, put it out for a throw-in. No mistakes, no problems, no issues. He kept it very, very simple, but it was effective. And some of those long balls, those big punts forward, Isaac, Wilson, Willock, Joe Linton all held the ball up and all started to create moments going forward off his big kicks going forward. So yeah, 7.5 for me. I thought he was good.
Chris, Opie.
I will probably side with you on this one, Daz. I'd probably say 7. Yeah, his distribution was all right, and he did come out and claim some balls. I think, do you know what? Maybe this is me being overcritical. I don't know, but I still don't feel like he looks very comfortable. I still feel like he looks nervous. Maybe he is nervous, to be fair. You know, a lot was at stake yesterday, and it's not easy being a goalkeeper. I totally get that, but. Do you know what else I'd like to see as well, which we don't see very often from Nick Pope? I'd like to see him start closing angles. Like, you know, that Undav goal, and I'm not blaming Pope for this in any way, shape or form, by the way, but I'd love to see him rush off his line and close the angle. I'd love to see him do that more. Sometimes I do find that he, you know, just spreads himself. Now, he's a pretty big lad, no denying, but I'd just love to see him anticipate that and come out. Because he comes out and clears the ball like a sweeper. But it seems that when someone's running with the ball or is about to get the ball, he kind of stays where he is. Whether he's told to do that or not, I don't know. But yeah, I give him a 7. Yeah,
7. Richie, Opie.
Obviously, I didn't watch the game, so I'll just go for the highlights I saw. He didn't really have much to do last night. I probably would have given him an 8, but just due to the fact that I thought that he could have done better with the goal, went through him raw. It was a bit easy, I thought. I'll give him a 7.
Cool. Right, let's go to Trips. Trips for me, I'm giving Trips a 9. Great delivery, great leadership. Where he's delivery has been maybe questionable over the last little while, but I would give him a 9. And of course, Trips is nominated for Player of the Season as well, if you have seen that. But 9 for me from Trips. Pete.
Yeah, 9.5 for me. Trips, I thought it was outstanding. I thought it was outstanding in every metric of the game that he plays. I thought he was brilliant. And you know why? It's not for his delivery. There was a different Kieran Trippier that played yesterday, and I saw it right from the beginning. Kieran Trippier played 15 yards deeper than he normally plays. He played it deeper for a reason, and he played deeper to sit on Matoma and stop him from getting in and behind that back line. And what that allowed him to do is get on the ball more. But what it allowed him to do is take control of his defensive responsibilities. And I thought he was outstanding against Matoma. You see what Matoma's been doing to defenders all over the Premier League. He didn't have a sniff. He didn't have a sniff at all. And to be fair, you know, at times Matoma was having to do more tracking back to stop Trippier in attacking areas than he was actually trying to get forward and create problems. And that was down to Trippier, that little drop back. So basically, what I saw they do is that Trippier sat deeper and actually saw Dan Burn move forward. It's almost like they swapped positions in terms of their starting position. Dan Burn started further forward, Trippier started deeper, and it was to stop Matoma playing. Because if they stop Matoma playing, their attacking lines are not as effective. And I thought for that reason and that reason alone, he was absolutely on his game. The deliveries and the assists and all the rest of it that came with it was just an absolute bonus. But I really like what I saw from Trippier, and it just shows he can play a different style of football. You know, in a different way. When he has to man mark a player or stop a player playing, he can do that. But if he wants to get forward and be that attacking Kieran Trippier, he can also do that. So he showed a different side to him. So 9.5 for me. I thought it was outstanding.
Cool. Richie, Trips.
I'll give him a 9. I thought, as I said earlier on, I thought his delivery was back to normal on those set pieces. They were absolutely fantastic. His link-up play with Miggy was spot on again. That was back to how it was earlier in the season when that understanding between them, the chemistry. But yeah, it's going back to what Pete said, and obviously it's going back to the point that was discussed on away days of the night that Matoma's pretty much skinned every single right back he's played this season. But this is where the experience that Trippier's got from international level, also the fact that it's the experience that he'll have had with Diego Simeone at Atletico Madrid, because they were a defensive team. And he said he learned so much on how to become a better defender. But the thing is, it's sometimes knowing what you've got to do, but then sometimes actually doing it and getting caught up in the moment. He was so reliable last night. He knew exactly what his role was to nullify Matoma, and he did it to perfection. And that's one of the reasons why he's up there for Player of the Season. And I'm not sure, right? Is he the only defender that's actually in the list as well? I think he is, isn't he? For Player of the Season. So goes to say what sort of season, because especially fullbacks very, very rarely get them. Van Dijk's been in there a couple of times and stuff. I think Trent got a young player one year, but to be full player of the season as a fullback goes to show a testament of what a fantastic season he's had since he's come to the team.
Cool. Chris, Trips.
Yeah, do you know what? Listening to you boys, the more you were talking about it, the more I was thinking, oh, is he my man of the match? But not quite. But absolutely brilliant last night. To be fair, that was the Trippier that we saw when he first came into Newcastle. The way he just transformed our right back position, and we hadn't seen a right back of that quality, in 20, 25, 30 years. Do you know what I mean? And I thought he was back to that self last night. Absolutely top draw. Going forward, excellence, defending excellence, and Pete and Vitch made the point up against Matoma, who arguably is one of the informed wingers in the league and has been consistently throughout the season. And he was just like, yeah, no problem, I'll sort him. So fantastic performance. Yeah, I'll go with a 9.
9. Cool. Let's take both centre backs together then. And next up, I'm going to give Shar and Bowman an 8. Shar's slightly a fault for the Brighton goal, maybe ball watching a bit. But I'm giving both of them an 8. And I'll go to you first, Chris.
See, it's difficult because the first half they didn't really have that much to do, but then I'm trying to track back to remember. Just to add, our press was brilliant yesterday. Absolutely brilliant. And I'm thinking back now. It's difficult to score. I would say, and I saw someone in the chat, I forget who it was, saying Botman made 2 forward passes. It makes a change or something. And like for me, Botman's passing is normally pretty spot on. So I was surprised when I saw that comment, but I think I would mark Botman of the two. I thought Botman looked more composed. I thought that he looked more solid. Shah, and obviously Shah got his usual whack in the face, didn't he? Felt sorry for him.
The head, yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's what we call it. We knew that was going to happen. So maybe give him a little bit of credit for that, because that would have put him off his game a little bit, I'm sure. Yeah, I think 8's a fair, Daz. I think 8's a fair. I'll go with it, because I wouldn't go as low as 7, but I wouldn't say they were on Trippier standards, because yesterday I don't think they were. So between 8 and 8.5, I'll go 8 for both.
Okay. Richie, we go for you. So for the centre backs,
I'll have to agree with exactly what Chris has just said. From what I've seen in the highlights and when I had the game on at the match last night, didn't have much to do in the first half. Full stop. And there was that slight little lapse for the goal. Obviously, where I think we've always said that when you're out of possession, the ball, you should be a bit more compact. And there was still a bit of too much of a gap between the centre half. So I'll give them both 8. Solid enough display. As Chris said, not to the same level as Trippier, and obviously Dan Burn as well on the other side as well. But they didn't deserve anything worse than an 8.
Pete.
8.5. As I said, they had to play as a defensive partnership differently. We all saw in the first half Brighton do their short passes of play, which we pressed really, really well. But what they intended to do is play the ball straight down the middle into Welbeck's feet. So one of the centre-backs had to always come out and press. So they had to come out of their position in order to make sure that the striker didn't win the ball. So this is why I didn't put too much pressure or too much negativity on Shaw, because he had to play differently last night. And Shaw was always the one to come out and press that ball. And to be fair, I thought he did it really, really well. So I'm not going to hammer him for that. Botman made 2 outstanding last-ditch tackles. One in particular early on in the first half, and I think might have been one in the second half. He was back to his best. He looked really, really good. And the fact that Evan Ferguson came on, and he came on to ruffle some feathers and really wasn't in the game at all, says to me how well Botman handled him. I'll go 8.5 for them, because it was a different way and different style that they had to play, and they're out of their comfort zone. But I thought they handled it superbly. Fair play to him.
Cool. Right, next up is Byrne. Got his goal, obviously. He did play the onside for the Brighton goal. He's had to play a peacekeeper role in a number of different scuffles as well, which is funny. But Byrne, giving him a 9. A solid performance, and his Premier League goal for Newcastle at home. Delighted for him. 9. Pete.
Same. Give him a 9. Thought he was brilliant. Just when everyone calls Dan Byrne and says, "Oh, he's going to struggle. He's going to be this. He's going to be that," he comes back with a big performance. And I didn't see any trouble come down his side for the whole game. I thought he handled his side very, very well, and obviously got on the end of Trippier's cross, scored a goal. Great night's work for Dan Byrne. What I will say is I think it epitomised everything. You watch back the game, and it's at the moment Sky do this thing where they focus on the Newcastle players as they come in, and obviously Trippier's doing the toss for the kickoff, so they're waiting for him to come in. So they're waiting for Trippier to come in, but they're not waiting for Trippier to do the talk. Dan Byrne did the talk tonight.
Yes, I saw that.
It's normally Trippier. Dan Byrne did the talk before the game, and the fact that he's the Geordie and he did the talk meant he wanted to get that message across to those Newcastle players, what it means to play in this game and what it meant for Newcastle United to win last night. And I thought, fair play to you. And that just shows he's on that leadership team, and he is a big influence in that team. I thought he was brilliant, but I thought his leadership and everything about his game was superb. Fair play to him.
Cool. That is Byrne. I think we've done everyone up on Byrne, have we? I've lost track.
I was just going to go 9.
Sorry. We didn't.
That's okay.
That's 9 or on. Okay, cool.
Yeah, we all went 9, yeah.
Right.
Just to add as well, just think, lads, Dan Byrne, £13 million.
Yeah.
We were mocked, laughed at. My mates were going, Dan Byrne, you're now the richest club in the world, and you're signing Dan Byrne. And look what he's done this season. Worth every penny.
And last season, yeah. Right, let's go as a collective for each of them anymore, because we try and speed it up a bit. Let's go for Bruno. Bruno got his goal. He looked a bit more back to himself, not completely back to himself. Again, he was hobbling at the end, but that's where like 4 up at that stage. I'm giving Bruno an 8.5. Any higher or lower than 8.5?
Nah, spot on.
I don't do 0.5, so I'll go.
Okay.
I don't go 0.5, so I'll go the 8.
8. All right,
Same.
Got 8. Anyone else say anything about Bruno?
Fucking love him. Just love him.
He's magic.
He's brilliant, and he's brilliant.
Cool. We'll move on. Let's go to Willock. Came off injured after 60 minutes. Looks like he's going to be actually missing. Here's the picture. He's on crutches there at the end of the game. And it might mean that Elliot Anderson has more of a starring role. I did say a couple of weeks ago that you never know who the hero could be to get claims Champions League. It could be Elliot Anderson yet. You never know. But so for Willock, I'm giving him a 7. Anyone higher or lower than 7?
Yeah, I would go 7.5. I thought he was good. I thought he played really well. He had to do a different role. He was playing on the right hand side, so it was a little bit different. But I thought Willett had a really good game. I just love how he runs at players. He's so infectious with the way in which he plays and he runs at defences. They just couldn't handle him. They really, really couldn't handle him for long parts of the game. For me, the only issue is for Joe Willock is his defensive responsibilities. It was good up until about the 60, I think, sorry, 50, 55 minutes. And then he stopped going back and his recovery runs weren't as good. And that's where Elliot Anderson comes in. I thought Elliot Anderson came on at a perfect time because I thought what Willock wasn't doing, Elliot Anderson did really well.
Yes, Brett, I'm going to get a set of cards and go higher or lower next season. That's one to write down for next season. We need to come up with a better way of trying to speed up. Maybe we all hold up a sheet of paper with our rating on it or something different.
Nah, you do well, Daz. You're doing well, mate. You're doing well.
Right. Let's move on to J7. Excellent in the press. Involved in some massive battles. I'm giving J7 an 8. Higher or lower? Richie's at an 8.
I don't normally do 0.5, so say 8.5. Sorry, Pete, go on. I'd say 8.5.
No, I agree.
8.5. Okay, cool. We'll move on. So from J7, let's go to Miggy. Now, Miggy was, for me, was unbelievable. His press, he was running constantly the whole game. Unlucky at times. The only thing that let him down was finishing and unlucky in certain situations. But I'm giving Miggy my man of the match, and I'm giving him a 9.5. Higher or lower?
9 though.
To be fair, and it's strange, really. I'd give him a 10. And the reason why I would give him a 10 is because he epitomised what Eddie Howe's tactics were, which was the high press. And it wasn't just press the defender that's in front of you. He was pressing the defender that's in front of him, then the goalkeeper, then the other centre-back. The amount of running that he did in comparison to every other player on that pitch was unbelievable. And the fact that he still had it in the tank to do that late on in the game and create those moments for Callum Wilson and a number of other players just tells how important he was. Like he's not been, like, his performance against Leeds wasn't great, but I tell you what, that was Miggy back to his best. And he got an assist. He didn't score, but I tell you what, I thought he was integral to everything that we did tactically.
Agreed. So it's 9 from Richie, 9.5 from me, 10 from Pete. Chris?
I'm going to go with 9. Miggy's just missed out on my man of the match. But I agree entirely with what Pete said. Like that press yesterday was unreal. Just a slight, not to go off topic, boys, but just a very quick question. Did any of you question why De Zerbi or the Brighton players, maybe it's not to blame for De Zerbi, why they still decided to try and play out from the back from the goal kick? Because our players were literally lining up on the edge of the 18-yard box as if to say, go on, pass it. And we were just going at them. And I was thinking, you're either very brave or very stupid. Because you could argue at this season especially, we've probably been the best pressing team in the league. So for them to continue to do that really surprised me. But Miggy was outstanding yesterday. And you know what? There was a moment in the game. I don't think we scored off it. I think it was one of the good opportunities. But Miggy cut in on his left. And rather than just, aim a shot at goal or just, put it in the box dead quick, he picked a pass out in the 6-yard box. And I love that. Get your head up, look, and give it. Sometimes I feel like Miggy sometimes just does something and then just quickly, reacts too quickly. Whereas if he just has that little bit of composure, because he's got all the pace, he's got the trickery, just get your head up and look where you're passing the ball. And he did it yesterday, and I thought, spot on that. Really, really good.
I loved where he's fighting with his little friend as well, and Cincio guy.
He didn't like that. I've never seen Miggy like that.
No, it was funny. It was funny.
Yeah.
Right, that is Miggy. Let's go to Isaac. Isaac, actually, here's Isaac, who is nominated for Young Player of the Season, along with Bottom. I never mentioned that, so congratulations to that lads. But where is my pick? Isaac, as another doggy to walk. I love it. This one the picture gets better and better. So there'll probably be two more on that leash, on those leashes before the season's over. But for Isaac, yeah, playing out wide as Richie had mentioned earlier, I'm giving him an 8. I'm giving Isaac an 8. 8 from Richie. Chris,
I can't go less than a 9. I feel like I've got to give the front three at least a 9 because I just thought they were outstanding yesterday. So I would give Isaac a 9. I agree with what Richie said at the start of the show in terms of, I believe Isaac's best position is through the middle, but he does a fantastic job out on the left, and he's so good on the ball. Like, it's like it sticks to him. He gets himself out of these tricky positions. He draws in 2 or 3 players, and then he gives the ball, or he dances his way out of it. And that's such a massive thing for us because it just distracts players, and it brings other people into play. So 9 for me.
All right, Pete.
Yeah, I agree. It was a 9. I don't think I've seen Casado had a worse game this season. Isaac destroyed him down that right-hand side. Absolutely destroyed him. Our left, their right. And we talked about it on away days. Casado plays that Trent role where he plays as a right back but also comes into midfield. He couldn't do it. Isaac was too good. And his movement is just unbelievable. Nobody can get close to him. And he was unlucky, really, not to create a couple of more clear-cut chances. I thought Isaac was outstanding. Yes, he played off the left. Yes, you would want him through the middle, but he opens up space down that side that no other left-sided attacker can create, and takes away slightly from his game. But actually, particularly in the first half, with Miggy, Wilson, and Isaac, that press was too good. They couldn't handle it. You don't see him have those sparkling moments, but what he did for the team last night was outstanding.
Nice one, Pete. Right, we're getting on to Mr. Callum Wilson. Mr. Callum Wilson, a goal and an assist. For me, I'm going to give him a 9.5. I just gave my man of the match though to Miggy, but an absolutely class display from Wilson. And unselfish with the goal, and now on 18 goals. Can he get to 20 goals before the end of the season? 9.5, higher or lower, anybody?
I've gone 10.
Pete's gone 10. Chris has gone 10.
Yeah, same, man of the match.
10 from Richie
the press,
as well.
Unbelievable. And just to add in as well, Daz, not only the press, but Pete mentioned before that Miggy kind of set the tone for the press, and I agree with that. But whenever, obviously, because the ball is 9 times out of 10, it's central, you need your striker to start that press. And Callum Wilson was always there, always at the right place, always, forcing the angles, pushing the keeper down. I thought he was brilliant. And then as well, that little jink back towards the halfway line to stay on side, to score the third goal, and then finally, well, that seals it. But then finally, to put the cherry on the cake, unselfishly, head up, back to Bruno, 4-1, game over. I thought he was unbelievable yesterday.
Nice one. That finishes the ratings. So I want to go straight into, and I know we probably have loads of questions as well, Richie. And it's a reminder to people to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Maybe we get an update on what our like numbers are, but it'd be great to hit that like button if you have not done so already. But let us talk about. Wait for this.
That was 10. Sorry, Daz.
This. This is the spreadsheet. As we can see now, we've played 36, same amount of games as Liverpool. We're on 69 points, 4 points ahead of Liverpool. Liverpool have a massive game tomorrow, as do Man United. So all eyes are on that game tomorrow. If Liverpool were to lose that game, we would have Champions League football. Also to note, the Villa have a lot to play for because they They are in 8th spot at the moment, and they're fighting to get into Europe. And they go to Brighton on the last game of the season as well. So Villa will not go down easy there in that game. Bournemouth as well. Interesting for how Man United get on away from home in that one. Of course, our two remaining games, all eyes as well, will be on Monday night, St James's Park, for our last home game of the season. And win that game, we're guaranteed Champions League football. But I'll let you talk about that, lads. But also, I want to bring this up, and as I want to switch out from this and bring up the Opta stats. But what are your thoughts now? It's 94% is what they're saying that we're our chances of getting Champions League football now. Any thoughts on that, lads?
One Pete.
No, you go first. You go for
it. Yeah, I mean, like we said at the start of the show, boys, I think it's done. I genuinely do. I was really nervous about the Brighton game. Do you know what? I'm really surprised looking in the chat. There's loads of people there in the chat who, were saying, "Oh, I wasn't nervous. I was. I fully expected it." And do you know what? It's really, really nice to see that. Hopefully, I will snap out of it, everyone. Hopefully. But yeah, I was really, 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 really anxious over this Brighton game. But as soon as we got them 3 points, as soon as the final whistle blew, I felt really confident. And now I just can't see anything but Champions League football. I genuinely think it's done. Obviously, like you said, Daz, all eyes will be on Villa tomorrow, and Man United with Bournemouth, obviously. But really, as Eddie Howe's been saying for the majority of the season, we just stick to ourselves. We just do what we need to do. Anything else is a bonus if it falls our way.
Cool. I'm going to bring that up the Premier League table as well, so we have another view. So 3 different views we're getting, and all of them point towards Champions League football for us. Just need to get over the line either over the weekend or on Monday night. But any more thoughts on the table, lads? Something anyone wants to say?
I think, do you know what? It could be over tomorrow, for all we know, because everyone's expecting Liverpool to beat Villa, but Villa are on the same point as Spurs, and they're both literally fighting for that European Conference League spot. Obviously, Villa haven't been in there for ages. They can still qualify for the Europa League as well for 6th. So they'll be going to Anfield tomorrow and making it really tough. And you've got to bear in mind, apart from the Leicester game, Liverpool have been really, really lucky in recent weeks. So they've had a few 1-0s, a few dodgy VAR decisions. You look at the Spurs game the day where we were out after the Southampton game when it was 3-3 last minute, and we thought that they pulled at the level. It was a draw, and then obviously they went to the other end and got to the controversial goal because Jota shouldn't have been on the pitch. So they've had a lot of luck over the last few weeks in that in that unbeaten run when they've won all those games. So it's a tough game for Liverpool tomorrow, and obviously Man United go to Bournemouth, and Bournemouth. I know a lot of people are saying they're on the beach and stuff like that, but it'll probably be I think it's their last home game of the season, so they'll not want to go down and not give their fans, an on the beach performance. They'll actually want to go out and deliver how good a season they've had in their last home game and make it difficult for Man United. And Man United's away form isn't great either. A lot of their form has been based on their home form, so that's not out of the question as well. So, I can see one of them slipping up tomorrow. I really, really can. And obviously, for that, it's nice to actually have the pressure on the other two for a change, not us. Obviously, there was a lot of pressure on Newcastle last night, which the lads and Eddie handled really, really well. And now it's put on the other foot. It's the ball's in our court, like it has been, and obviously it was all depending on what we had to do, but you still had to get the results. It's all right having games in hand, but then you've got to get the results in those games in hand. And last night we did, and that was probably our hardest game in the run last night. And I think the way Leicester played it against Liverpool last week, it was it was championship form. And for them to come to Newcastle on a Monday night, Sky mentioned it today. Newcastle have not been beaten, they've not lost a game under the lights under Eddie Howe, and I can't see that happening on Monday either.
Sorry,
It wasn't me this time.
it was me. Sorry.
Nice one, Chris. It went nicely with Richie's little monologue there.
It did. I was waiting for the cherry on the cake, and then bang, there we go.
Nice. Right, I'll remove that table. So, and maybe we just, as you're probably lining up some questions, Richie, maybe we just tell people what's happening in the terms of coming on Sunday night, Pete. What's happening here?
Yeah, away days. So Chris from Leicester Till I Die is back for a preview at 7:30, looking at the Leicester game, and they're not looking too confident about the game on Monday. But look, we'll talk about it as always on away days. Looking forward to chatting with them. Should be a good one.
Nice one. And we will have a reaction show as well. So we'll stay tuned. We haven't decided when we're going to have that yet. So stay tuned for when we decide what we're going to do with that. And also, just a quick shout out, if you've missed the little short videos that we've put out there during the week, there's another one actually dropping tomorrow at 10 a.m. But this one on Dominic Subsley, or whatever you have in yourself there. And Pete, you spotted this as well. He liked this on Instagram as well today or yesterday even.
Yeah, last night. Yeah, so 433 picked up on it, and it did the rounds afterwards. Obviously, Bruno Guimaraes liked it as well. Obviously highlighting the win. So not that he reads anything into it, but it's interesting that keeping an eye on Newcastle's activity, potential Champions League football. It looks like he'll only go to a Champions League football team if he leaves. So if we're that, then who knows? But look, no doubt we'll be discussing it during the fully loaded transfer shows in the summer.
It reminded me, Pete, of it was Sven Botman, wasn't it? Sven Botman liked a picture or something, and we were all going, "Oh, we've been linked to Sven Botman."
More than one.
Yeah. And
there's a picture of himself in the Newcastle kit.
Oh, and he liked it, didn't he?
Yeah.
Well, someone needs to post a picture of him in a Newcastle kit and see if he likes it.
Well, you'll be glad to know, lads, I tagged Dominic in our little thing on Instagram as well. So we'll see if he likes that. And I also tagged Jean-Claire Taribo as well on this other show that we put out as well. And the one that I mentioned is going to drop tomorrow at 10. Keep your eyes peeled for that at 10 a.m. That is.
Dominic, if you're watching.
Nice one. I like it. So that is all on the shows that are coming that we have out there at the moment. Richie, we go to what's in the chat.
Yeah, first of all, we've got a few thanks to say. Obviously, I'm presuming these were from tonight's show, but there's 3 new members tonight. We've got Daniel Much. Thanks for joining, mate. Also, Mandy Pyle as well has joined tonight. And also, we've got one more, that's Charlie Hotspur.
Wow.
He's also joined us. That's 3 new members
Charlie
during the show tonight. So thank you very much. It's all appreciate the support for the channel. So let's get on to some of the questions. Right, let's start with the first one. Right, Lisa's our resident Spanish turn and says, I know I'm early, but question for you all. Would you rather Liverpool lose tomorrow and we get Champions League, or do you want us to win it on Monday and confirm our spot then?
I'll go first. I don't care as long as we get Champions League. And Lisa, our regular Spanish. I think we should call Lisa our soccerette. Our soccerette in the chat, Lisa. Thanks for that question. Anyone else?
I don't care.
No, okay.
Doesn't ask me. No, doesn't ask me.
Fair enough. Right. Joy 2 for life. He felt there was a lot of dark arts from Brighton last night, and that's why I drew it next time we were losing their tempers, but nothing was said by the commentators. Do you think it was dark arts, Pete, or do you think it was They were just trying to get into this. We were obviously doing it then because obviously I think someone mentioned, I can't remember who it was, thought that it was perhaps a game plan by Newcastle a little bit on some of the set pieces and stuff like that. So what was your thoughts on it, Pete?
They tried to wind up a couple of players, but I think our dark arts were far better and far worse than theirs. And I'm not mad about it at all. I thought we handled the game and our game management was absolutely spot on. So yeah, look, it's always going to happen. They're always going to try and wind up a Joe Linton because he's fiery, he's emotional. They want to get a reaction out of him, but he's got good people around him. You saw Sven Botman just before the free kick, where Dan Burns scored. Sven Botman was saying to him, stop. Like there's no need. Like just leave it alone. Dan Burns does the same. Trippier does the same. Got good people around him, but I don't want to take that fire out of him because it makes him the player that he is.
Yeah, fair enough. Daz, Jimmy Watt wants to know, obviously, we'll say it looks like Willock's injured now and will be out for the rest of the season. Obviously, Eddie Howe did say this morning, obviously, until he got to the physio room, we wouldn't know exact diagnosis, but obviously, it looks like he's out for the season, and he mentioned that Longstaff could be struggling for the Leicester game. Who would you play in midfield with Bruno and Joe Linton?
Elliot Anderson. I think it's the time for Elliot Anderson. He came on for Willock. He's done well. He's a few cameos for us. Well, he does seem to be play better further up the pitch, but I think he can do a job first. We're lacking the numbers anyway, so there are limited options. But Elliot Anderson is the one I think is going to go sitting in there, and I can't see Eddie Howe changing the formation at this stage. He'll go there. That's for me, right? But what does anyone else think?
Pete?
He's the only choice. There's no one else.
I think it's a fantastic opportunity and you're right, Pete. He is the only choice. I think it's a fantastic opportunity for him as well because I feel like Monday's not going to be a pressure game. I think it's going to be more enjoyable than the Brighton game, if I'm honest. Because I think the opposition's far easier than Brighton in Leicester. And also, let's hope, fingers crossed, we secure it on Monday night. But he's also got Chelsea as well. So it'd be great to see him pitched up against the likes of Jorginho, Kovacic, players of that ilk. So I think it's a great opportunity for Elliot Anderson. So, I'm looking forward to seeing him play.
I'll ask this one to Pete because obviously it was something that we've talked about a little bit already. And it's who do you think was at fault for the Brighton goal? Because obviously all of us had a few different views, but who do you think was, if anybody, was at fault for the Brighton goal?
Well, firstly, it was a good goal. We would have talked about it. Gilmore makes a good pass. Undav makes a good run. It's a nice finish. You could argue that maybe Shaw was a little bit slow off his heels, but I'm not going to hammer him for it. We end up winning the game, if I'm honest. So, I'm not going to. I don't even know why we're talking about faults for players. We won 4-1. I really don't care. I really don't.
Oh, right, and we've got a few Dan Burn questions here as well. Round them all off. There's a couple of little stats in here which are quite good as well. Nobby Clark saying that Dan Burn has the same amount of Premier League goals as a certain 60 million forward for Spurs. Michael Pomar has mentioned that possibly look at time to extending Burn's contract. Obviously, he was given a 2.5-year contract. So we'll have 12 months when the season's over. And Bobby also is mentioning is it finally time for an England call-up for Burn in June? There are going to be a lot of absentees. What's your thoughts on that, Chris?
I don't see why not. Do I think it'll happen? Probably not. Even though I think Dan Burn arguably deserves to be in there. I don't think. I don't see why Gareth Southgate doesn't consider him, especially given the fact he can play centre back, he can play left back, and the fact he's like a tree and he's 6'7". To be able to have someone like him who you can bring on, he's awkward in the opposition box, he's awkward in his own box in terms of defending the goal. For me, it's a no-brainer to have someone like Dan Burn in the team, but I don't think he'll get picked. It's a shame, but if it benefits Newcastle, then that's fine by me.
Also, Simon, just the last bit about Dan Burn. He mentioned, has anybody seen the John Cena clip about Dan Burn?
No, I haven't seen it.
You know, I'll forward it on to you. I've got it in my son, our Chris sent us it, so I'll forward it on to you, Chris.
Oh, yeah,
It's quite
please,
cool. All about Dan Burn in a smart car. Right. Gary Milliken, he's mentioned, who do the Lord Admired lads want to finish in the top 4 with us?
Well, I kind of get this question from my little boy about Man United and Liverpool. He asked, "Who do you prefer, Man United or Liverpool?" I'm going, neither. Neither is the only answer you're going to get out of me. But who do I want? Well, Brighton can't finish in the top 4 now. Or sorry, it still could, because it could still finish on 67. So Newcastle and Brighton.
Chris, you had your hand up there.
Manchester United.
Okay. Pete, I take it you're not bothered.
I don't care. As long as we're in it, I really don't care.
I think
That's
you
the main
discussed
thing.
that briefly on away days anyway, didn't you? Who you'd prefer anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Actually, yeah, we did.
Oh, okay. Brett C's also mentioned here. Can we discuss how pundits always say how teams never play well against us, and not that we make them look poor? Daz?
Yeah, there is that can be that kind of bias, right? But I think maybe they'll change their opinions going into next season. Now, it's probably taken them by a bit of shock what we've done this season, and they'll have to stand up and take notice now, because we're coming, and so better get used to it. We're not going anywhere.
Pete?
From the media's perspective, we're the little guys. We're the ones that they can quite easily talk about and fob us off. So the build up to this week was Newcastle going to fall. Newcastle going to fall. It's easy because Jamie Carragher wants Liverpool to get Champions League. It's easy because Gary Neville wants Man United to get Champions League. So they can put that narrative out there. However, for me, from my opinion, I think we have earned the right to be there. We've done that because we make teams play poorly. We make teams play the way they are. Arsenal got absolutely hammered. And look, Dan Potts is in the chat. Welcome, Dan. Great to have you in there, fella. I will see you next week. But Arsenal got hammered by Brighton. We played that same Brighton team, even in the second half when they put their strongest team out there, and we hammered them, and we deserved to beat them. And people like Jamie Redknapp that want to kind of taint our performance by saying it was about Brighton putting a weak side out and finding excuses for them. It's what I expect. I don't listen to it because from what I can see on the pitch, I know Newcastle are giving everything. Will it change? Will the narrative change? It will, but it will take a few years. We're going to have to back this up this season by doing it again next season and becoming a regular team that's in the Champions League so they know we're not going to go away. Leicester have been in the Champions League. You know, Everton have been in the Champions League way back when. You've got West Ham that came close. Leicester came close not long ago. If we get the Champions League, which we expect on Monday, with the first team, if I'm right thinking, since Leicester, outside of that traditional top 6 to get the Champions League football. So therefore, you know, we're already breaking the mold. We need to continue to break that mold and be confirmed and established a top 7 side. Only at that point will the media change their mentality about us.
I think the interesting thing is on that point as well, Pete, is the fact that the pundits were made to look daft today when Pep had his press conference and he turned around and, you know, he said Newcastle were fantastic last night, the intensity, the press and stuff like that. So if Pep, who's now up there as a talk, has been one of the best managers in the world ever, he's raving about Newcastle and how they played, it really does, you know, make some of these pundits look daft. Chris, what was your thoughts on it, mate?
Do you know what? I think it's just one of those things we're going to have to get used to. I think Daz was spot on, you know, when he was saying that next season, I think it'll look a lot different because I think then we will be accepted because we're not going anywhere. And when we bring in, not if, when we bring in those 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever it is, signings to improve our squad, it's only going to make us stronger. That sounds like a song. That was a Kanye West song or something. Anyway, yeah,
Jennifer Lopez, I think, Chris.
Oh, was it Jennifer Lopez? Oh, bloody hell! Okay,
Jennifer
I
Lopez.
called that one. Well, she went out with Kanye West, didn't she? Did she? She did?
Don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm only messing.
That's okay. But no, yeah, no, I think we just got to get used to it. The media don't like us. They don't like the fact that, you know, unpopular, unliked Newcastle are, you know, rising to the top. So they're just gonna have to get on with it, though, aren't they?
Yeah. Another question from Michael Palmer. This is for Daz and for Pete. Chris is not allowed to answer it.
Oh.
He wants to know, if Villa beat Liverpool, would you take an NUFC defeat to Leicester if it meant relegating Everton?
No.
If you think I'm going to accept losing to Leicester, you're having a fucking laugh. There's no fucking chance. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit about Everton. We're a load of rubbish anyway. But anyway, I'd love both to go down. That's my answer.
Yeah. I never want Newcastle to lose, so I don't give a shit about that Everton. If Everton will probably lose anyway, so they might go down anyway. So I could possibly see Leeds getting out of it, so Everton could go down anyway. Right, it's getting on to a few more transfer links that are coming through now. Oxford, for Mike. Even all, anyone else heard Teeny pretty much a done deal?
A few people
Name
have
has
said
been
it.
mentioned a lot. Yeah.
A few people have said it, but it's all on the build up that he wants to move back north, and that's what they're banking it on. Is it? They're banking it on because he's saying apparently in circles that he wants to move back further north, nearer to Scotland. That Newcastle's the prime target, but I don't think Kieran Tierney's the only left back that we're looking at. I think there's a pool of them, because we have to get that position right. Dan Burns had a great season. Some iffy games, you know, some games where he's not been great and been at times detrimental to that defence. Actually, for long parts, he's been outstanding. But this left back position needs to be sewn up, and it needs to be sewn up with the right player.
Okay, now that's something I wasn't too sure on. I haven't heard anything today, but Phil Robinson has said, what did the panel think about the links of Sadio Mane?
Interesting that, isn't it? I saw those links yesterday or something as well, but might be something we need to talk about, I think.
Obviously, you remember you had that fallout with Leroy Sané after the game at Man City, didn't there? So I don't know if there's some underlying issue there, which has disrupted the dressing room. I don't know, but as Dad said, it's definitely one to keep an eye on. Let's have a look at this one. Right, the mighty win. He's actually put a nice good one on. It's just about Bosley's father's tweet says, "My son's career is more important than his agent's fee." After Dom saying he prefers Newcastle, so let's hope that is correct. And what his dad said there. Jimmy Watt has also asked, lads, if we were to get another striker, who would you like and why?
For me, I'd like to watch the Fully Loaded Transfer Show all summer and pick one from there.
That's such a good answer,
Chris.
I've got to work on my partners, as
We're partners now, Chris. Sorry.
we're partners. That's it.
Is it one of those, Pete?
We need to find out.
Yes.
Sorry, Jimmy. Sorry for the answer there.
Let's have a look. It's a quick one-word answer. We've got to answer it at all the same time as well, lads. But Simon wants to know: have we ever seen a Mackham in Milan? No. An interesting one here from Mikey Y. Without the last two questions here, Mikey wants to know who would you guys sell in the summer to make way for new incomings? Pete, we'll start with you.
Jamal Lascelles, Jamal Lewis, Jeff Hendrick, Ryan Fraser, Matt Ritchie, contract's out. After that,
Do you think Mankiewicz might be on the list?
I've got a feeling he'll stay. Squad player. I've got a feeling he'll stay. We're not going to get rid of like crazy amounts of players, but players with contracts out, like Kieran Clark's contracts out, people like that, Matt Ritchie, we'll move on. But I think the players that will sell is the likes of Jamal Lewis and those players that I've mentioned. I think they're the ones that will move on. If we get bids for the likes of Alan Maximin, I think we'll consider it. But that's if anybody comes in, and we've been talking about Alan Maximin for 2 seasons now, about bids coming in, and they never have. It doesn't mean that bid's going to come in the summer either. And I went back to that point. You look at his face. You look at it. The guy played, 10 minutes, maybe under 10 minutes, but you look at how much it meant to him and how much it means to him playing Champions League football potentially. He tore it up at Nice playing Europa League football and was very good in that competition. He'll want to play Champions League football. So it's whether a bid from another club will be enough, and the move and the promises of whatever club that come in for him is enough for him to move on. We'll see.
Daz?
My answer here, Richie, is easy. No comment, because squad game 3, the price is right. It's coming very, very soon. No date yet, but that I've been dying for that show for months, so I'm not answering anything like that until that show.
I suppose you're going to echo that as well, aren't you, Chris?
Well, I was going to agree with my
Hand over to
partner.
my partner.
I was going to agree with my partner.
Which one?
Yeah, do you know what? But I would like to add to what Pete said. I agree with those names, and also just to add a little bit of suspense, a little bit of drama. I do think there will be at least one player leaving who none of us expect to leave, like another Shelby, someone where you go, oh, why have they let him go? I think an offer will come in that is too good to refuse. Yeah.
Suspense music.
And that's not me saying like I know anything of anything, because I don't know anything, as you probably all know. That's just my opinion, and I'm not also that it's Maxi after what Pete says. I think it could be someone who, like, we just don't expect. It could be like a Dan Burn or something like that. I'm not saying it's Dan Burn before anyone jumps on me. I just mean it'll be someone who none of us expect to leave, and we'll get a good offer for someone, and we take it. Just a good feeling.
Okay. And the last one, I suppose it'll be best for Daz and Pete to answer this one. Jimmy Watt wants to know, when's the next transfer show, lads?
I say, what kind of transfer show? Because
I don't know if he's on about fully loaded transfer show or any more of the
we will do
shorts.
Yeah, we will do more of the shorts. Nothing planned. No names even talked about yet. We one dropping tomorrow at 10 a.m. But the fully loaded transfer show, I think, Pete, you were thinking about right after the end of the season. But
yeah, summer's a long time. We've got a lot of transfers to talk about. Let's finish this season first, and then we can take a bit of a breather and then kick into transfers after that. We've got a lot of shows to do. I think it was Jimmy that asked the question. We've got a lot of shows to do. Don't worry about that. You'll be getting your fill of Loaded Mag NUFC transfer news.
And that's it, lads. I've obviously went through a lot now. Someone's just started that last one to come through there. Ian McKenna said 120 million for Bruno. Would you take it?
No. No chance. And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised after Monday that you hear that he signed a new deal. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if they've already agreed it, that they're waiting for Champions League football to be confirmed, and it'll get done.
Yeah, and the sponsor news will come out, and everything will all come out. Then I think
it's all waiting to see what competition we're in, because I think how much we get for those deals will be dependent on which competition we're in.
Yeah, totally agree. And also, just to follow on this point, it's a good point to end on. So we were talking about transfer there. Brett Cecil said he just hopes that we get deals done nice and early in the window for a good preseason. I'd echo that one. Be nice to get I know Brighton have already made starts for next season and stuff like that. So obviously, they could be in some preliminary rounds of Europe, so that they want to get their squad together early. But also, there's a lot of potential outgoings at Brighton, so they're getting people in to replace them, so they're not short. So yeah, I agree. It would be nice to get some people under the table straight away. But obviously, we also know the fact that we've got people that need to go out as well to make way as well. So it might be a little bit longer, but hopefully we're not going to the end of the window to get people in. But Daz, that's it, mate.
Yeah, cool. Cheers, Richie. Just a shout out to our sponsors, theradiatorshed.com and Russ. And everyone knows at this stage what Russ does. And Richie, Summer, and Chris in jail. Get in there, Summer. And here's some of the radiators that Russ has on offer. Go check out the radiatorshed.com for the latest there. And Russ, ever since you met Callum Wilson, it's all turned around. And here is the install works as well, where Russ will sort you out with installing those radiators. He'll come in the loaded van to sort that out for you. We're also on Spotify as well, actually, and iTunes, if anyone's ever wanted to listen to us there. And also a shout out to H2O Bathroom Design Co., the Northeast's largest supplier of Velcro and Botch bathroom wear. Team Valley Gateshead, over 20 years established, run by the family. Get down to the showroom on 11th Avenue, Team Valley Estate, Gateshead. And here again are some of the lovely bathrooms on offer. We'll check in with Russ to see if there are any new pictures as well of what he's got going. So we'll get those details updated. But that's it. A shout out to our sponsors. That is it, I think, lads, unless there's anything else you want to say before we close off. No, I guess we're back.
Maybe.
Sorry, over to my partner.
That's it.
Nice one, Chris. And Chris, could you give us one more look at that poster, please?
Of course you can.
Bow, chicka, bow, bow.
Right. On that note, apologies everybody, but see, show dropping tomorrow at 10 a.m. and then back for away lates on Sunday night. How'd you like that?
How you like?